The Chiefs have signed a former Super Bowl champion and a former Pro Bowl quarterback as their backup quarterback. Carson Wentz signs to a one-year deal with Kansas City. Let's talk about it.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Breaking news, teams back for a special edition. Carson Wentz is a Kansas City Chief. I'd have told you that 5 years ago, Kent. What would you have thought?
Well, I mean, in Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, he was an MVP candidate. So Patrick Mahomes wasn't on the field. I think it was very presumptive of you to call him the backup quarterback. Honestly, yeah,
that's true. That's not very newsworthy of me. I should have give the information from all sides before. I shouldn't let my bias creep in. But yeah. Former Pro Bowl quarterback coming to Kansas City, Carson Wentz. Look, we've been talking about backup quarterbacks a lot on the Chiefs News Daily videos that we've been doing here on YouTube. If you guys haven't checked those out, make sure to go check those out. And the Chiefs do land a backup quarterback. It is a one-year deal with Carson Wentz, kind of a journeyman quarterback at this point. Kent, first reactions to the Chiefs signing him?
I like it. I like it a lot, and I think I was excited about Blaine Gabbert last year, and this isn't a dunk fest on Blaine Gabbert or anything, but I was very underwhelmed with what I saw out of him in an Andy Reid offense. Kind of on the maybe just on the downside of his career, he's not coming back. I mean, the Chiefs have made and elected not to keep him, right? And what I think Carson Wentz does is provide more upside than Blaine Gabbert did. And I think there's similar downside to both of them. Just kind of what we saw from Blaine Gabbert last year with some really rough decision making. I think about the Bears game. That was tough to watch. I didn't walk away feeling as confident about a Blaine Gabbert experience as I did with Chad Henne, for instance. And what I think this does is Carson Wentz raises the floor a little bit of the Chiefs' backup quarterback profile. He's a guy that, has, some abilities that Andy Reid can work with. He has, more talent than a Blaine Gabbert does. This guy has played some good football in the past, and he wasn't terrible last year when he played for the Rams in a very limited capacity. So I think this is a great little signing for the Chiefs to make a move to invest in their backup quarterback position. And I'm going to guess that they didn't invest much. I will be stunned if this contract counts on the compensatory formula. I bet you it's a veteran minimum type deal that the Chiefs just signed Carson Wentz for.
You think it'll count against the top 51?
I think it will be a league minimum veteran contract. So I think it's going to be what, I don't remember how much that actually counts against the cap, but it's not very much. So it's not going, this is not going to break the bank at all. And I don't think the Chiefs do this if they're losing a compensatory pick over it.
If you look at something, kind of a trend with these Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid teams, is a veteran backup quarterback. We've seen that ever since Patrick Mahomes became the starting quarterback. They wanted a veteran backup quarterback. And Ken, this is a question I wanted to ask you, because it appears to me that they've upgraded the backup quarterback at that position every year. No knocks on Chad Henne or Matt Moore or Blaine Gabbert, but Carson Wentz is a little bit different of a quarterback than those guys, where this is a guy who was a starter around the league for some time, and those other guys didn't quite catch on as well.
Well, the funny thing is I mean, he was a starter as recently as 2022. Now, he wasn't very good there, but he had a decent season for the Indianapolis Colts. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it was a solid season through 3,600 yards in 2021. So, I mean, he's had some success in this league, and he's had success in the last couple of years. I think it's a departure from what they've done, though, because I don't think Carson Wentz completely fits the profile of what Chad Henne was for Patrick Mahomes. Chad Henne was more of a sounding board type player. He was a guy that had been there, done that, been through a lot of different offenses, seen a lot of different things, a more established veteran than a Carson Wentz is. And that's not to devalue what Carson Wentz has or hasn't seen, but we've also just seen him make some really erratic decisions. So I don't think this is a soundboard situation as much as it is, let's up the, like Tier said, upping the athletic physical abilities of the quarterback position. That's what this feels more like than it's a shift away from, Patrick Mahomes desperately needing a veteran in the room with him, right? Yeah. It feels just more like this is a solid quarterback to take a swing on as a quarterback too. And if we need him to play an extended period of time, we think we have a way to win some games with him. And like, I think there's some things I think there's some things to think about here. One, he's played in a Doug Peterson offense. So he has some familiarity with what Andy Reid likes to call, how Andy Reid likes to call some of those things. So he's not going, it's going to be a pretty seamless transition there. So that could be a value add for this team as they're looking to, add a QB2. And I think this is an upgrade from Blaine Gabbert. The other fun thing I'll save for later. I got another thought on there, but I think the thing you need to think about right now is, it shouldn't be too hard of a transition for him. Doug Peterson, the foundational build there, I think will help him kind of transition into Andy Reid's offense relatively seamlessly.
You mentioned he was a starter back in 2021 for Indianapolis, a project that might not have went as well as Colts fans and maybe Carson Wentz fans would have liked for that to go with Frank Reich and everything with him going there. It seemed like a good match made in heaven. I believe he was on Hard Knocks. I believe that was a Hard Knocks season that he was on there. I really liked Carson Wentz when I started watching the Colts Hard Knocks that they had it there. But last year he only played in 2 games, started one of them, won the game that he started, threw for 163 yards and a touchdown, 17 for 24 in that game. So shout out to Carson Wentz stepping in, getting a win when you need it. That's a really big thing. And another win when you need it is the KCSN Substack. Make sure to go check that out. All of our breaking news coverage here, sponsored by the KCSN Daily Substack newsletter. Go to kcsn.substack.com for everything you need on the Kansas City Chiefs, the best written content straight to your inbox. That is $30 a year, $5 a month. Or hey, I got another good deal for you. KCSN Draft Guide drops on Thursday. Go and pre-order that sucker. Link in the description below. And you get 3 free months of the KCSN Substack included with over 300 pages of Chiefs-specific draft coverage. So lots of good stuff going on there. But looking at Carson Wentz, the year that he had with Indianapolis, that I was gonna say, he threw for over 3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And look, it's a far cry from the year that he had there where he was a 33 touchdown and 7 interception guy, right? And obviously the injury led to that. And then Nick Foles comes in, they win the Super Bowl, everything. But hey, look, Chiefs got another Super Bowl ring. If we were Bengals fans, Kent, we would be counting this as a Super Bowl ring for our team.
Yeah, I mean that's like the closest you can get, right? I was teasing a little bit that there's another thing to think about here, and I'm going to throw it out here now.
Okay.
So last year against the Miami Dolphins, 4th and inches, 3rd and inches, it was the Miami Dolphins just acted as if there was no feasible scenario in which the Kansas City Chiefs would run a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
They just do not respect it. And they're goading the Chiefs to try it. I don't think it's in the playbook. Like, I think the reason that Patrick Mahomes didn't check to that is because there's literally there's no check to it for them. Right. Like, they just don't have it. Carson Wentz is a massive athletic quarterback. Perhaps this is someone that could step in and execute the quarterback sneak for this team. Like, this is the guy that they can actually use to do this. Like, I know it sounds like a small thing, but like, we get so frustrated about some of their, inability to, run some of these 3rd and short plays, and honestly just, running that little offset, little, block behind or run behind the right guard who's, washing down. Like, how long is that play gonna survive, right? So maybe this is a way to lengthen your play calling there with the short yardage stuff, and they're going to start running a little QB sneak with the Carson Wentz here too. Like, this is the kind of stuff that could present some value on top of everything we've talked about.
I do think what's really interesting too, as I've been mentioning, we've been kind of keeping our eyes on the veteran quarterback market when it comes to just who the free agents have been. Carson Wentz was probably one of the better guys out there, with Blaine Gabbert already out there. Ryan Tannehill is still out there. Brian Hoyer, Trevor Siemian, AJ McCarron's playing in the UFL right now. I doubt he's going to come and play an NFL contract because he's getting a lot of playing time for the Battlehawks. But Matt Barkley, Felipe Franks, I guess, is a tight end now. I didn't know that until I looked that up today.
Not a quarterback.
Not a quarterback.
Some would say that never forget it.
But I'm looking at it, this was probably one of the better guys available, Ken, when you look at the list of, Tannehill probably would be a pretty good one. I don't know if he's going to be taking a backup contract anywhere, but like out of like Hoyer, Gabbert, Wentz, Siemian, Wentz might have been my leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, for some of those guys, for sure. I mean, maybe not entirely, but I think when you're looking, I think cost is really important. So I think this is why I think this is a vet minimum deal like it was with Blaine Gabbert. I think this is the same deal that Blaine Gabbert got last year. And it's just, hey, we'll do this. We're going to, this makes sense for everybody. It does make sense for everybody. It really does. Yeah. It makes sense for the Chiefs if it's cheap, which I'm going to guess it's cheap. It makes sense for Carson Wentz in that he's going to go work with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes for the next year. And if something happens and he gets an opportunity to play, he is going to look his absolute best. And looking their absolute best right now is Craig Stout. Can we add him?
We can add Craig Stout.
That'd be great.
Hello, Craig Stout. How are you?
Hang on. I was in the middle of a drink of my wine right now. I figure I'd class it up for the breaking news team signing Carson Wentz here.
Thoughts, Craig? I want to know. I want to get your thoughts on this. We've heard a lot from Kit and I about the signing. What are your thoughts on Carson Wentz becoming a Kansas City Chief?
I mean, the talent is undeniable. At least the talent was when he came out of the draft. The guy that had a ridiculously high ceiling now at this point is just what he is. He's an NFL backup. I think it's very interesting that this is now the youngest primary backup, if he ends up being the primary backup for Patrick Mahomes yet. Everybody else has been a lot older. Blaine Gabbert, Chad Henne, I believe, was the previous youngest. Maybe he was like 34-ish, but he was the previous youngest that was here for that. So this might be, kind of answering that question of when are we going to start seeing the Chiefs migrate towards a backup that isn't, just like, hey, you're great with film, you're great in the room. Not that Carson Wentz isn't those things, but they're not just making it a priority to just be this elder statesman in the room for Patrick Mahomes. He's running the room himself now, and for good reason. He's the best quarterback in the league. But this is one of those that we're starting to see it trend the opposite direction now, and he's going to have the opportunity in a couple of rare occasions here to show up and play for Andy Reid in a big way that could be meaningful for his career. Still, he's only 31.
I think this is a win-win-win for everyone. I think I genuinely do. Like, I think this is just, it makes sense for all parties involved. And that's like, it's raising the profile of the position, like to Tucker's point. I think you can go out and this is going to sound weird. I think you can win 2 out of 3 with Carson Wentz. I might trust Chad Henne a little bit more to lead one individual drive. But I think I would trust Carson Wentz to win 2 of the next 3 games, if that makes sense. So it's like, if you're looking for someone that's going to come in and have like an iconic singular drive, I trust Chad Henne because he's going to do what he knows how to do. He's going to make the plays that are there. But like, I think, the call sheet runs thin at some point, right?
Yeah.
But with Carson, there's a little bit more of a wild card to him. But Andy knows how to play he exploits the strengths of his players. So if Mahomes goes down for 3 games, Andy's going to have a way to exploit the strengths of Carson Wentz to generate offense. And I think that gives the Chiefs the best chance to win 3 of any backup quarterback, that the Chiefs have had in recent memory.
I will say this. I don't think it's worth like getting super excited for. He should be low money. We saw maybe a little peek behind the curtain from Chase Daniel. I don't know if you guys talked about this tweet already before I jumped on here.
Go for it.
Chase Daniel saying that the Chiefs offered, Carson Wentz to be their backup last year, but he didn't like the amount of money that the Chiefs were offering last year, and he ended up in Los Angeles. Now he ends up back in Kansas City. So this is not just like a 1-year set of interest for Andy Reid. They obviously liked him last year and went, hey, we have a certain amount that we're willing to pay a backup quarterback. Take it or leave it. And he left it, went to LA. Then they turn around, they signed Blaine Gabbert for that. Now, I would guess the money's the same. It's not like, he showed up and all of a sudden was lights out for LA. No, I believe he started 1 game last year, their final regular season game after, they clinched the playoff berth and all of that. So his price didn't go up. I'm guessing the Chiefs didn't go up either. But this is a guy that it's not just, hey, we're taking a 1-year flyer on this guy because who knows, we just need a backup. They liked him last year. And Chase saying that made me go, oh, okay, well, maybe they've got, Andy obviously sees something in that quarterback that he really likes.
And my guess is I don't know if it would have been contractual. Like I know what Chase is saying. I'm not even sure. Is it more than the Chiefs offered financially or opportunity? Because I don't know if they were necessarily unseating Blaine Gabbert from the backup position last year, or if it was like, hey, come and to be fair, like a practice squad scenario would be technically more money, but I mean now the opportunity is opened up, right? So it's. I don't think the Chiefs were like. I think he was a vet minimum signing for the Rams, but there was opportunity there for him to be the backup quarterback. I don't know if that was ever really on the table for Carson Wentz, especially like a mid-season situation or something like that. So like that's just kind of what makes me. The opportunity has now presented itself for him to be the backup quarterback, very likely for this team, and I know it's a fun one. It's like it's not a life-changing move. But it's the most interesting the backup quarterback position has been since the Mahomes era. So, I mean, and I do think that there is more ceiling to this move where I've always looked at other teams in the NFL. And I'm looking at Maddie kind of talking about it in the DMs right now. And this team just refuses to pay backup quarterbacks right now, which is smart because you have Patrick Mahomes. And if you lose Patrick Mahomes, you're probably screwed. But there's been a lot of teams that have needed different players in a pinch, and they've had capable backups ready for him to play. And this is a move that feels more like I think the Chiefs have a puncher's chance of withstanding a game or two differently than I did with Blaine Gabbert. Especially, I was at the Bears game watching Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
Did you say punter's chance because you wish Tommy Townsend was throwing the ball
that's
on that
true.
game?
No, I said punchers. I did say punchers. Yeah, we know. And you also hear things come out of your mouth wrong too, but that's a different story for a different day.
I wanna preface this conversation. I guess I can't really preface anything because we're already in the middle of the conversation. The Chiefs quarterback room coming into like this live breaking news show was Chris Solodikin and Ian Book. Like that was their quarterback room with Patrick Mahomes, obviously. But Ian Book's
they haven't switched Ian Book's position.
Thin. Yeah, I every time I went to go look at the R Lads page, I kept seeing Ian Book and I was like, wow, I forgot that guy even exists. Shout out Ian Book though. Notre Dame legend. But if you're looking also about Carson Wentz, Craig, you brought this up. I think this is really interesting about his age being 31. A lot of the backup quarterbacks that are out there right now on the market, or quarterbacks that are still on the market, like Tannehill's 35, Brian Hoyer's 38, Blaine Gabbert's 34, Trevor Siemian's 32, Matt Barkley's 33, and outside of Logan Woodside, who's 29. I don't know if he's going to be getting any real looks here. He was like the youngest quarterback available at 31. So it is definitely an interesting move here for the Chiefs. And also, I don't want to be the guy that's bringing up draft stuff, but Carson Wentz had a 9.63 RAS coming out of North Dakota State. Athlete. Okay.
We're showering a lot of praise on this guy that actively forced his way out of a couple of organizations. So yeah. I do see some of this happening in the chat right now. So we definitely need to, address that. Not the best locker room presence in previous stints. Now, in those stints, he was always projected as a starter. He was projected as the guy that was going. He was the starter on some of them, but some of those, it was like, oh, it's an open QB competition. Okay, maybe this guy starts for a little while, but eventually, Wentz kind of comes in and does that. There is no chance in hell that he is unseating Patrick Mahomes. So this is coming with a completely different set of circumstances. I don't think anybody heard anything with him in Los Angeles last year. It's like, oh man, he hates playing with Matthew Stafford. No, everything was pretty copacetic for that team all year long. At this point, this is a guy who has been to a bunch of different organizations, has not felt the love from those organizations, has not returned the love to those organizations, and is now looking for a ring. He wants one. That's what he's here doing. If he's getting paid vet men all these other places, hey, go get a ring. Go play with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Worst case scenario, Patrick Mahomes goes down for a couple of games. You get to show out a little bit. You hit the free agent market next year. Who knows? Maybe you make a little bit of money. Hopefully you get a ring on the way. That's, that's worst case from the Chiefs' perspective here with him having to play. But realistically, he shouldn't play at all this year outside of some preseason games, hopefully a regular season finale where he gets to be kind of the anchor to bring it home and all of that. So this is really a low risk move from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to come in here and sow discord in a very healthy locker room that is very carefully managed by Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Justin Reid, Chris Jones. Carson Wentz comes in there, doing any of that. It's not going to last long. It's just not going to last long. So I'm not worried about that stuff. Yeah.
I think this is good, Craig. I'm glad you kind of went this direction because I don't see any scenario where he hasn't been humbled. I mean, he had to sign a vet minimum deal last year. And I don't believe he signed it. I think he signed it more in the middle of the season last year, if I remember correctly. I don't even think he signed it at onset.
I don't remember the timing of that. Yeah.
Maybe Tucker can look into that while I'm talking. But so he's been humbled. He's had to play as a backup already 1 year. You can believe you're a good football player, and you can believe that you're one of the 32 best football players in the NFL. But there is just absolutely no scenario in which you can believe you're better than Patrick Mahomes. So if that's the case, there's just no feasible way for him not to be humbled, right? He's not, and I'm not saying he thinks there's a competition, but if you can't understand, if you can't know your role and shut your mouth, jabroni, then you're gone. You're gone. And they're just going to roll with Chris Oladokin and Shane. You're going to find Shane Buechele and whatever. I'm just telling, there's just if there's an ounce of him not being humbled and if an ounce of him not knowing his role, it's just not going to fly. They're just not going to let it happen. So I'm not worried about it from that perspective. I think Carson Wentz knows he really doesn't have a choice and knows kind of what the league thinks about him. And I'm pretty sure his contract is about to reflect exactly what the league thinks about him too, like they did last year. So, I mean, yeah, he's a lot of talent, but definitely some things that have rubbed some people the wrong way over the last few years.
So I've looked up what I...
Yeah, go ahead, Doug. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, I'm not really sure what Kent asked me to look up because I wasn't paying attention to what he said, but Carson Wentz signed his contract in September of last year.
Yeah.
November of last year, November 8th. So
see, it was mid-season.
Right, you were right. Yeah. And a bunch of people in the chat are talking about how he won a ring already. Yes, I do.
But he wasn't on the field.
Did he though?
Yeah, but he wasn't on the field. Yeah, he was hurt. Yes, he did. He got a ring. He helped shepherd that team into the playoffs. So yes, he definitely did earn that ring. Not trying to take that away from him, but I'm sure he would like to be active for the Super Bowl and get a ring here. So yeah.
Craig did miss my Bengals joke earlier, so I'm going to say it again so Craig can hear it. If we were Bengals fans, Craig, this would count as a Super Bowl ring for our team.
Oh, you're right. I forgot that that's how we count rings for the Bengals.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Proximity.
Yeah.
They're
close. We can't help ourselves. Anything else on Blaine Gabbert? I think we have exhausted. We have no numbers right now. I think we have had a very lengthy.
I don't have anything else on Blaine Gabbert, but I do have a couple things on Carson Wentz. If we want to,
sorry, guys. Sorry, I'm still thinking about how Blaine Gabbert doesn't have a job right now for my Mizzou.
Listen, the moment that Reese Lightning took number 9. I think the writing was on the wall for Blaine Gabbert.
Number 11's open, right? Carson Wentz can have number 11, right?
He's taking MVS's number.
Right, MVS is on the team right now, unless Anthony Miller wanted, or Anthony Washington Miller.
Miller, you were right, Tucker. Just let Craig cook.
No, the only time I'm wrong is when I second guess myself. Craig, thoughts?
I think that you're wonderful, Tucker. I think you're an amazing host. I really appreciate the jacket being on here. No, I think that this probably ices the QB room. Sorry, Ian Book, but you're probably not making the roster at this point. Practice squad, yay. but I think that they like having this stable presence of a veteran that's been around for a little while that they can count on for a little while, so that they don't have to carry that third quarterback all year long. I know that we've still seen them do it with some different guys. Shane Buechele, we've seen them kind of keep guys around for multiple different years, but it's not a situation that Andy Reid wants to do that with. And so they would rather allocate those roster spots for wide receivers or offensive linemen or other positions that are going to contribute more to the offense than an emergency quarterback, especially with the rules being changed now to where how many times can you call up an emergency quarterback? Is it unlimited now?
From a
Yeah,
practice
that's what I
squad,
thought.
unlimited.
So
That's good for Russell Wilson then.
At this point, you don't need to keep that third quarterback on the roster. So you want that guy that you feel confident in going into game day to be able to do that. That's what a vet adds to this. Well, remains to be seen what we're going to get out of Carson Wentz here. But frankly, some of the other guys that they've brought in, he's of that same ilk. He's of that same build. He's of that same quality with a potential for maybe being a little bit higher. So it's hard to be mad at this move. Love Chad Henne, love Matt Moore, love Blaine Gabbert and what they did for this team. Carson Wentz is right there in the same line with those guys. So I think it's a really good move. Sorry, Ian Book.
Poor Ian Book, man. Just catching strays. He's just trying to enjoy his Monday night, and he's catching strays. And like some dude in a freaking trucker hat and a suit coat's gonna say like get ready to learn tight end or something about Ian Book. Man,
he's like a
Ian.
slot receiver at best too. Like
yes. Would
Ian,
like I got faith in you, buddy.
Listen, at this point,
it's like 5'11".
I'm sorry, Ian.
I think the book's closed on this edition of the Breaking News team.
You're right, it has. I gotta go watch the end of Monday Night Raw. So that's gonna do it for the KCSN Breaking News team here. I'm Tucker Franklin for Kent Swanson and Craig Stout. Hey, make sure to go to kcsn.substack.com. Go check out all of our great coverage there. I'm sure, Kit, you could do a write up on Carson Wentz.
No,
you have to subscribe to find out. $30 a year, $5 a month. Go check it out. Or don't. So that's gonna
subscribe for other reasons, because there will not be a Carson Wentz breakdown coming on the network.
We appreciate everybody watching live with us right now. If you're listening, buy the draft guide. If you're listening after the fact, leave a 5-star rating and review. Sorry, we're so slap happy. This team refused to make moves during regular business hours. So that is the Chiefs' fault. We will be back with more breaking news whenever it happens. It'll probably be Mike Dana on Wednesday after the lab. So we'll see you guys there.